Hey guys, Kim isn't feeling so good today, so I'm gonna just fill in for her video today, okay? So I hope you enjoy. Hey guys, it's Kim. It's Friday, week 8. This week we are talking about the top 5 things that we think you should know about dating someone who is transgender. So I actually came up with a list of my own after watching everybody else's videos this week, which are awesome. And I actually came up with the 5 L's. So the first on my list is to live. Live in the fact that not everything is a trans issue. Sometimes you should just take time to live your life as any other normal, happy couple. And not saying that it's a bad thing at all, but not every single thing in the relationship has to be about being trans. Sometimes, it's good to just live your life and not point out some of those things that maybe he doesn't want to talk about at the moment. Also, live in the fact of knowing your laws and your rights. I know that Jake and I really want to get married someday, so before that can happen, he of course has to change his gender marker, which requires that he has at least had top surgery and changed his name legally. So that's a huge factor too. Just knowing your laws and knowing what you can do with them and working around them, knowing your rights, to be able to just live your life as a normal couple, like I said. But also living in the fact that through his transition, I've actually learned a lot about myself and kind of improved my quality of life at the same time. While he's been transitioning and improving his quality of life, I actually did learn a lot about myself too. So that's my first rule, is to live. The next, of course, is to laugh. Definitely take time to relax and enjoy nature, or whatever other kind of activity that the two of you like to do together. Take the time to have fun as a couple, just to kind of enjoy the lighter side of things, because sometimes his transition can be really difficult and really challenging for me and him and for us as a couple. So sometimes it's nice to just get away and go for a drive or go for a run, or just do something to get our mind off of some of the not so happy parts. But also, there's also some really fun parts of his transition as well. It's kind of fun and exciting every time. It's like, ooh, look at this new chest hair that I got, and oh, look at all this butt hair I have now. That's funny, let's laugh about it. And oh, I lost another hair on my head, I'm gonna go bald, but it's okay, I'll still love you when you're bald. So it's definitely an interesting and very fun journey and process. And there's nothing wrong with, taking the time to laugh about some of the quirky things that happen with his transition. The next rule on my list is to love. Always show your partner how much you love them, even though sometimes maybe they are not very receptive to it at the time. Like some of the other vloggers mentioned, dysphoria is a huge part of our love life sometimes, and even though he might not be feeling that great about himself, I always try to show him how much I love him and care for him and appreciate him, and let him know that I'm always here through whatever struggles he's going through. A lot of times when he's going through some issues, he likes to be alone, so you can definitely know when someone needs space, but at the same time, just letting them know that you're there by writing them a little note or doing something special for them. Also, a huge part of the third L is communication. Sometimes, love isn't always that easy, and it's definitely really important for us to communicate with each other as far as how we're feeling at the moment, or what we're going through, or if something is upsetting me, I definitely have to communicate that to him and just let him know what I need and talk about any of those things. So communication is a huge part of any long-term relationship, and it's especially important when it comes to a trans relationship. Another way that I really try to show him how much I love him is to always just be his rock and his support system. just to let him know that I'm there for him. And also, when it comes to that, pronouns are very, very important. It can totally ruin your partner's day if you slip up and use the wrong pronouns. And I will admit, at first, it's kind of hard, getting used to his name changing and everything, and sometimes I did make mistakes, and it wasn't even because I saw him as female, it was just because I had known him for so long and called him by a different name for so long that, sometimes I would make mistakes. And it is actually a really, really important thing to him in his transition, just to kind of show him that you do see him as the man in your life. And so pronouns are very, very important. Just out of respect for your partner. Also, as far as my relationship goes, my partner is stealth most of the time because he doesn't really want his employer and his coworkers to know that he is transgender. He had already changed his name and everything before he got this job. So, not outing your partner is a huge deal. I mean, sometimes I'm like, I think it's so cool to be dating someone who's transgender, and, I want to tell people about it or talk about it, but out of respect for him, I know that he doesn't necessarily want everyone in the whole world to know. So respecting your partner and your partner's needs, as far as being stealth or not outing him, that's a huge deal in showing him how much you love him and care about him and support him through everything. Another way that I really try to show him how much I love him as my partner is to kind of let him take the lead in a lot of situations. I think I mentioned this before too, that one thing that really helps him feel more masculine and more confident in his masculinity is to let him take the lead in the relationship and do take on the manly role in the relationship, such as, holding doors, driving when we go out, paying for dates, things like that, letting him kind of, just take on that manly role in the relationship. Like I've said before, as taboo as that sounds, it does really help him to feel more confident, and it helps me to show him how much I love him as my partner. The next L on my list is lust. So when it comes to the sex life, like I mentioned, and a lot of the other girls mentioned too, dysphoria can be a huge blocker to intimacy sometimes. And I think that in any relationship, it is important to talk about boundaries, but I think that's also incredibly, extremely important in dating someone who is transgender, especially in the beginning of the relationship, just to discuss your boundaries with each other and to really respect those for each other and not cross those boundaries. And that's going to make your partner feel a lot more comfortable in, sharing things with you and being open with you, as far as, in the bedroom and outside of the bedroom. So I think that communicating about boundaries is a huge, huge part, and very important in dating someone who is transgender especially. Also, I don't know if this is true for all the other couples, but definitely being open-minded and trying new things when it comes to intimacy is a pretty good factor in dating someone who is transgender. Like I said before, I had been with girls and guys before this relationship, so it wasn't really new to me, but it definitely was a whole nother world as far as sleeping with someone who's trans, because there were a lot of boundaries there that, you don't want to cross out of respect for your partner, and you don't want to make him feel uncomfortable. So just kind of trying new things and getting a different perspective, thinking about things in a different way and thinking about body parts in a different way, just being open-minded to that, and being open to using different toys and things in the bedroom. It could definitely improve your love life, so don't be afraid. Even though you may not have tried it before, maybe that's a great thing that you can experience with your partner. So don't be afraid to try new things and be adventurous. You will appreciate it. The next L on my list is to lighten up. And by that I mean not to take things quite so personally. Sometimes if he's having a bad day or a bad moment, he's uncomfortable and, upset about something, maybe he's pushing you away, try really hard not to take those things personally. Although we all will at times, but it's really not your fault at all. For a long time, I believed that it was my fault. Every time that he would get upset, I felt like I had done something wrong, but that's not necessarily the case. So when it comes to dating someone who's trans, anything, literally anything, can be a trigger for dysphoria. And like I said before, it's not necessarily your fault, it's just something that happens. Anybody can have a bad day or not be really in the mood or be upset about something. And like Carrie said, also I think, just try not to take things quite so personally when it comes to issues of dysphoria, because it really isn't your fault, it's just something that happens. Also, when it comes to lightening up, definitely try not to let issues bottle up. Anytime you're having an issue with someone, it's really great to communicate that with your partner, even just to get it off your chest, even if maybe there is no immediate resolution to the issue. I know that it always helps me to really talk about things with Jake anytime I'm feeling upset, just to even get his perspective on things, or, just to get it out in the open. It's always good to communicate about any issue that you might be having and not let it build up and build up. Sometimes it's a good idea to take some time for yourself and maybe, step out of the situation, go do something for yourself, go get your hair done or get your nails done or go shopping. Sometimes you just have to step out of the situation and give yourself a little breathing room. And I know that for a long time I really worried about him all the time and the issues that he was having and how could I help him. And sometimes there is nothing that you can do about it. You just have to step out of the situation and give each other space. So that it can be a huge factor as well. Jake and I were actually kind of having a fight once, and I was getting really upset, just telling him that every single thing that I'm doing in my life is in consideration for him. All the changes that I was trying to make and improvements were, things that would be conducive to our relationship. And he was like, well, sometimes you have to do some things for yourself. And it really was awesome advice, because when I started thinking about myself and my feelings and making sure that I was happy as well, our relationship did really improve. So that's a great bit of advice that Jake actually gave to me. And lastly, when it comes to lightening up, the best advice that I can give you is that everything is momentary. The feelings that you are feeling right now are not necessarily the feelings that you're going to have forever. Things can change and things can get better. Sometimes even just talking about things can make you feel a world of better. So just keep in mind that everything is momentary and this will also pass. So I hope this video helps some of you this week. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. Bye!